Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Huff Photo Presents the podcast. My name is Brian Huff, and today's guest is Jack Ire. Jack's debut album, Disarray, In Disarray, is actually out now, and you can find it on iTunes and everywhere you find your music. Today's show is sponsored by R Gothic. You can go to rgothic.com. That's the letter R, gothic.com. And search for all kinds of Gothic-inspired clothing. And we appreciate them sponsoring our Rockabilly Pinup Pageant 2024 competition. This is the first time we've actually done a pinup competition for Rockabilly. We're hoping to bring even more fun events like this. Now, this is a PG-rated, family-friendly event, and we're really looking forward to it. And excited to see what all people wear and what they bring to the competition. So, with that being said, thank you so much for joining us here today, and I hope you enjoy the show. All right. Well, good afternoon, Jack. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. Doing all right.
I'm going to have to turn your mic way up.
Do I need to get closer?
Yeah, probably a little bit. That's the only problem with these mics is they like you to be right there.
That's good.
There we go. So you just released this is your debut album.
Yeah, my first full album.
Okay, so you're 17?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm used to saying when did you get into music? When did you got into music
I guess
immediately?
Yeah. I guess I was 12 whenever I started playing guitar.
Okay. Yeah. Just started playing guitar or?
Yeah, I started playing guitar. We always had this guitar that was laying around the house. I guess it was one of my brother's friends.
Yeah.
They had given it to me when I was little. And just finally decided that, I ain't got nothing better to do. Might as well try that out.
Okay.
Ever since. Yeah. Taught myself. Then I started teaching myself other things.
Yeah. So and then you started playing drums and
bass and a little bit of keyboards.
Okay.
Just.
It's interesting to me because I have an older son, Jack, and when he graduated high school, he played 9 instruments. And
9 instruments.
That his high school senior project, they had to do those back then, was he literally sat down and wrote the music, played all the tracks, recorded in his room, and mastered the CD for his project. And
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, it amazes me. You guys are so talented. I've been banned from karaoke in 3 states, so that's my musical background. That's why I use a camera. So, In Disarray is a very, to me, that's fair to say, Southern Gothic style.
Yeah, I would say so. It was definitely inspired by a lot of Southern Gothic things.
Who were some of your inspirations behind this album?
Probably, Brownbird was easily the biggest influence on my guitar playing and my songwriting. This little kind of unknown duo from Rhode Island. There's
a group that I discovered through an HBO show called True Detective. It was season 1. Handsome Family did that track. And are you familiar with those? I love those guys. And cool. I get that kind of feel. Which, by the way, this, for folks that don't know, I'm sitting here holding a cassette tape of this album. And it sounds like in my car that it was really made for cassette. It plays the richness of the audio that comes through. Because I grew up in the era of cassette, back in the day, car stereos and everything. When CD came along, one of the things that we hated about, of course, was skip, but you lost a lot of the richness of the audio. You didn't really have the low end that you would get from cassette. That was me. I mean, that's how I felt about it. No, I'm sure it's gotten better over the years, but
yeah, it cuts out a lot of the highs, and I really like that sound. Of course, I wasn't familiar with cassettes from a young age because, you know, I was around at a time when CDs were dying out.
Sure.
But like on YouTube, there's like these doomer mixes of songs.
Right.
They slow it down, add like a cassette effect. I don't know. I always liked that. So I kind of wanted that sound in some of my songs. Like, of course, I didn't add the effect, but I know I wanted to have some cassettes made just because, like, well, first of all, the feeling of having a cassette and the feeling that the listening to it gives you, just the, like I said, the low richness and little noises you can get out of it. Something you can't like recreate.
It's even different from vinyl. Vinyl, you know, you get those little ticks and hisses. Oh, yeah. It's just different, but it's, which I love as well, but cassette brings its own, it's almost like, I guess you'd say the imperfections are perfect. Right. I wonder what the effect would be to actually, now that you've got it mastered on cassette, is to play that cassette on a really good deck back into a digital medium.
I actually did that on the intro to Where the Angels Die. That's what that sound is. I recorded the intro on my computer at home, and then I recorded it into my cassette player, and then I took the cassette player to the studio and played that through his system.
And that's how you got that interesting, almost like it's almost like a dragging effect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
And my cassette player is like it's really old, so it doesn't play very well. So it was dragging a lot, and there was a lot of little mistakes throughout it, and
perfect imperfections.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting to me now with all the technology. It's cool that you can go back and pull a machine like a cassette deck or something like that and pipe that into, you know, all the stuff that's going on. I know one of the biggest things everybody's talking about right now, of course, in music and art and everything is AI. And it's nice to listen to something that's not been affected by that, because I'm afraid it's going to get, as it gets better and better, it's going to be difficult to find things that are, I guess, not touched by that.
Something human.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a point in technology as we advance. You know, we're trying to make it easier for us to do things, and I think there's a certain line that we can't cross where we take away anything human from it, and it alienates us. You know?
Sure.
And I feel like we're getting a lot of that already with our phones that we're getting drawn into. Just
sure. And that's something I talk about, being a photographer. People on social media don't realize when they feed photos into AI that I've taken of them, they're training AI on my photography style unknowingly, and then also unknowingly generating demand for AI products.
That's true.
And
it's starting to, like, I mean, we're teaching it how to learn by itself, and the more that we're going to feed it, the more it's going to be able to do on its own. It's going to, you know, eventually get to a state where we're not in control of it.
Sure.
I mean, it's all a bunch of sci-fi things that everybody's talking about now, but it's a scary thought the more that we're feeding into it.
It is, because I don't know if any of the scientists have paid any attention, but none of those sci-fi movies end well.
No, typically not.
No. I had mentioned something about that the other day. I had a friend of mine that works, I've mentioned before, Boston Dynamics. And it's incredible what those robots can do. And sure, I mean, me being a photographer, I like having something make my job easier. why not? Especially if I can deliver a better product faster to my client. But I think the line is when it starts to try to dictate creativity to us, or probably try to dictate what it thinks creativity is. Once we cross, that's a line that I think is just,
creativity is a pretty uniquely human concept for us. And I don't know, how do you use AI, or if you have ever...
give you an idea. There was an update the other day. And here's the thing, software that I use for photography, the companies that make it are putting in AI tools. So it's like we don't even have a choice. It's just there. We can use it or not use it. But give you an idea. I was photographing an event. The event had wristbands. Nice, bright, vibrant green wristbands that were driving me insane because here people are all dressed up nice and everything. A really cool event, and we had these wristbands. Well, I went into the AI feature that had just been added that week, never used it, and I painted over the wristband with it. It noticed the wristband didn't belong in the shot, and made it disappear. And by that I mean it literally AI generated skin over the wristband. And one of the shots I did was on an arm that had tattoos. It matched the tattoos. You could not tell. It took it 10 seconds to do this. I also had one, a lady had lace sleeves on. It matched the lace pattern. 10 seconds. You could not tell it was. Now, for my clients sitting there, seeing this happen, and for me, being able to offer them a print or something like that where that was gone, that's awesome. I mean, that to me, it's working with me in tandem with something I created to make it better. Sure.
Whenever it's used in that way, just simply as a small tool.
As a tool, keep it in its box. Yeah. That's my limit.
But even with it being a tool, you could, in the wrong hands, having that tool where you can take something and either add something that wasn't there and make it fit into the image, or take something away.
Yeah.
Having that in the wrong hands, even now, could be dangerous.
Sure. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, and not only that, but with voices. Of course, I know Tennessee passed, I think it's called the Elvis Act, where it's illegal in the state of Tennessee for someone to clone someone else's voice without that person's express permission to use it.
That makes sense.
What's funny is they named it the Elvis Act, which I thought was funny because, Elvis's music was not his own, most of it, especially that he started out with.
Right.
So I was like, that's kind of funny. But you can clone your own voice and you can use it and stuff like that, but you can't legally use someone else's. And so that goes into now what they're doing, where they steal people's voices over the phone when you answer the phone. And it's just insane. But I agree with you. To me, and I know people sometimes laugh at this analogy, but I feel that it's relevant. I look at nuclear energy. Nuclear energy has the ability to power so much cleaner than other options. But it also has the ability to create a bomb that could wipe us all away. It's just who gets their hands on it and uses it. It has the potential when you look at the AI and its ability to generate cures for things. Well, it can also generate poisons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's scary to me. And I just noticed in the news something about Elon Musk is wanting to build the most powerful AI computer in Memphis. His motorcade was spotted, we think, by a friend of mine the other day in Memphis. It was a big row of black SUVs and police escorts and stuff. So we think he was actually there to finalize that deal with building one of the fastest supercomputers for AI in Memphis.
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting to me in a lot of ways because, number one, if it gets out of hand, at least it's on a fault line.
There we go. Yeah.
But so playing live, you got some shows coming up?
Got one show coming up.
Okay.
It's August 30th or 31st in Nashville.
Okay.
It's not finalized yet whether it's going to happen.
Sure.
Hope it's going to happen. With the White Rose Motor Oil.
Oh, out of Denver. I've heard of them.
I just recently heard about it.
Your brother played me some of their music and mentioned them to me, and I was like, wow, these guys actually sound really cool. You guys would be a good fit. I think maybe. Musically, you guys would be a cool fit.
A little bit of southern things.
Sure, yeah. The one thing that stood out, I know a lot of times that I can sit down and listen to an album and I will hear pieces of other artists. And I'll be honest, it's not obvious. Yours to me feels extremely original. And I feel very rare these days. So I'm very excited to see where you're just here at 17, already belting out these tunes and shooting videos and everything. I'm really excited to see where this goes, especially with something that I feel is a really strong piece of work. Because and another thing too, I'm not one for instrumentals, but man, that one you've got on this album, I catch myself rewinding it and listening to it over again, and I love the fact that I have to rewind it, which sounds kind of dumb, I guess, in this age, but there's something else about, like you said, even just the pushing the cassette in the deck, that mechanical.
There's something about older technology that, I don't know, it's simple how it works. It requires, you to physically move something. There's something about that I feel is drawing people back to older technology, like with the vinyls, with the cassettes, Polaroids. I don't know, just having physical manifestations of things. It's drawing people back. It's a human.
It's experience.
Yeah, the experience.
Pushing a button's not an experience.
No,
but I feel that it lends, and this is just me, but I feel like this is going back to also my background, photography with film and everything, and talking about how you have to physically do something. I think there's an honesty there. It feels like you can't fake that.
No. Something genuine.
Yeah. So that I think is important. I think that's missing in a lot of things right now as we get more and more and more digital, and of course we talk about AI and all these things that can manipulate and I guess not necessarily always fake things, but it doesn't feel genuine. It has a different feel. That's personally, it feels really different to me when I actually print one of my photographs. That doesn't happen very often anymore. And to hold a physical print, have something in your hand, is just a different feeling, especially, at least now we do put out the magazine, and I like physically holding the magazine. I like beckoning back to these things, but like you said, you weren't raised with cassettes, so it's almost like you're nostalgic for something and I think that may be something with your generation. You guys are kind of nostalgic for something you haven't known.
Exactly. We because we're all going back to vinyls, and even just for filters and like on TikTok or whatever that brings back like a Polaroid look. We're all nostalgic for that, the old experiences, but I feel like it comes down to having like the processes and the experiences of things. Like with AI, there's no input for you to take an image, and you can just cut out half of that image and just create something entirely new. There's nothing real. Like, it just did that in 10 seconds. Like, you didn't, which is not to talk bad on people that do use it with genuine tool, but there's nothing genuine there.
Right.
And we're missing that as humans.
Yeah.
Like, it's part of our nature to, whenever we put work into something and we see it done, like we see the fruits of our labor in everything. And that's being alienated a lot. Like,
I think too, at heart, humans were storytellers. AI has no story.
No story.
Unless we tell it. You know, and AI is still artificial intelligence. The A is very important to remember. You know, it's not real intelligence. It's only regurgitating what we feed it.
Yeah, but it is slowly, you know. I mean, it's still all regurgitated information, but it is learning to mend things, to create sort of create.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that more than anything is what disturbs me, is because we're using words that are human words. Learn, create. These are not machine terms, or haven't been, you know, in our times, haven't been machine words.
Mm-hmm.
And
but now we've created something that's trying to recreate the mind. It's I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand why. It does seem like humans are fascinated with projecting themselves into something else or onto something else. Some are anyway, to sort of replicate that, to make something more human. Not not me, man.
Right.
Not my thing. And that's why I think that a lot of art that's coming out now, I hope that people stop and think before they actually, go through and do things online and order certain things and buy certain things, because that's what the dollar's what the people online are paying attention to. The companies are watching that. So if we accidentally go and generate dollars with an AI, they're going to love that, because they're not paying employees. And I know people argue, well, you've got to have coders and stuff like that, but we're teaching this thing how to code itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that, didn't know this was going to go just a total spiral of technology.
I don't mind. What is your stand on using it as however you decide to use it?
Just a tool. I mean, it's if I need something to, like the wristband thing, that's pretty much it. One of the things that, when we actually go into select areas in a photograph to edit, it can now recognize, which a lot of my work is portrait. So it can say, oh, this is a person. Hey, do you want us to make an editing mask of the face and the skin of the body and the clothing and everything separately, so when you go to do your edits, those areas are pre-selected for you?
Yeah.
That used to take me hours.
Right.
Now it's seconds, and it doesn't edit anything. It merely separates the areas for me to do my work. That has helped me tremendously. Now, the downside to that, and this went away, thankfully. It was in one of the beta versions of it. In one of the beta versions, it actually pulled up and was like, oh, this is a portrait. We need to edit the skin, edit the eyes, and it would go through, and I would actually see edits applied to my images before I touched them. That I absolutely hated, because it wasn't me. And I don't edit photos like anyone else does. I don't honestly think any two photographers edit things the same. And I would imagine when you go in the studio, you're not going to edit a track the same as another musician. Now, when we learn what you learned, I'm sure you mimicked other artists as you learn guitar. You learn songs. The bands play covers. Same thing with photographers. We'll see photography that we love and we'll try to emulate that. And that's your beginning steps. But then once you start getting the process down, you start to find your own voice. And I imagine in music, it's a lot the same. It may be a lot in all art. And I think that goes back to once again, to AI. It shouldn't have a voice.
No. And see the feeling that you spoke of, the individuality that you can portray through your photography and through your edits, through my music and me and Bab's edits. I feel like that's what a lot of people are missing, the individuality that comes from even things like that, just having your own way to do things. And AI is definitely going to attack that. Like, just no work put into it. I don't know. Where do you draw your line with using it?
That's pretty much it. Like, it can help me pick out things maybe like that, like draw the outline for where I want to work, but I don't let it work. Like, I don't want it to go, hey, this was shot outside, that needs to be this color balance, or hey, this was shot with a flash. And it can select my areas for me to do my work and make that easier, and then stop. I don't want you to touch my work because I also not only I put so much into I have thought process, and I'm sure this goes back to music. There's a reason I choose the lens I'm using. There's a reason I use the camera body I'm using. There's a reason why in my camera I've already set settings that I want to. And this is the scary thing now. They're putting AI in cameras, and that's when that gets out of the computer box and gets into our tools. It's like saying you pick up a guitar. What if it tuned itself? That's cool. Why not? That's neat. What if you don't want to play in that key though, and you have no way to untune it? You may want to drop to a different key. Suddenly, it's taken away your creative control. And then so that's my whole thing is not only to where we draw the line, but where are these companies making our tools that we use to do our craft going to draw the line? Or else we're going to be like, look, we're using this to represent our creative voice. Here's our tools we use. We're not using these new ones because you've done things to box us out of our creativity, And so, at the end of the day, it goes back to those companies that make all the stuff that we use to tell our stories. Listen to the dollar.
Right.
So you gotta talk with your mind. Talk with your money.
Yeah. I think it just comes down to we need to just draw our own personal lines. Everybody needs to draw their own personal lines. We need that. Just do our own thing, and don't the companies that are above us and the influencers on social media. Just, listen to what they have to say if you choose, but we need some individuality, and
yeah, I think definitely listening to whatever people have to say, but yeah, thinking for yourself is for sure. You've got to.
Because we're running out of a lot of that with social media. And because we get trapped in our phones first, like just that dopamine rush you get from a like, or just opening your phone, just seeing if anybody's messaged you. Oh, hey, I got a text message. There's just that little hit of dopamine. You get addicted to it.
Yep.
And then you get on social media, start listening to what everybody else, or what the influencers have to say, that everybody, just millions of people following them, and you just get sucked into some hole. And I don't know, we need to get out of that, start thinking for ourselves, because we're all losing that sense of individuality. And I believe that it's connected with us wanting things like that, like the cassettes.
Sure.
Like I've been saying, just those individual experiences and you doing something. Like that just gives us back a little sense of control.
I mean, I drive a stick shift, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Was it nice driving my wife's automatic car this last week on a trip? Sure. But there's something different in the experience of driving a car where you have to shift the gears.
You have to. You control it.
Right.
And there's something we have to find that.
It's a narrative.
It is.
It's a narrative. We want to be in control of the story that we're telling because it's our story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that AI has the threat, at least, of taking away that story and possibly even rewriting it. I mean, so people, I think, need to be educated. You know, this goes all the way back to, people need to understand what's real. And so, and that's a rabbit hole.
What is real?
Start talking about reality. Oh man! So this is your first. I guess this is an EP.
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is.
It's something to do with 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's below 30 minutes. It's like 27. So yeah, EP.
So working on any other tracks in the studio currently, or?
Not yet. I'm working on writing a few, but I was mostly just focused on getting that done, because I've been working on a few of them for a while now. I mean, I released some singles before then. I released Attrition, which is 3 songs. I released Epitaph for then, Morphine featuring Dave Frost, my buddy. And I recorded Epitaph in 2022, I think. Yeah, like October 2022. Recorded Morphine in the summer 2022. So it's been 2 years now since I did that. So I've just been kind of focused on getting that out there, and also working with, Dape. We're in the studio right now recording some songs.
That's right. You play bass for the band Dape as well.
Yeah. I started playing live with them when I was 13.
I was there.
You were there?
I was at one of the shows.
You were there. You were there.
Yeah. Yep. The one they had the lighting set up for at the Hot Wing place.
Pretty cool pictures.
Yeah, that was fun. I
think my mom still has one of those pictures in her classroom.
I saw one in the classroom when I went and did a drone class. And that brings me back to going to ask a question. What's up with no shoes on stage?
I like to mess with drunk people and tell them I'm actually deaf and blind, and I pick up the vibrations of things around me. It's like echolocation. I pick it up through my feet. Yeah.
This is the greatest superhero origin story I've ever heard.
It is. I was born that way. Or sometimes I'll tell them that. Sometimes I'll tell them, like, I come up with some pretty weird freak accidents. Like, there was actually this plane that, like, fell on top of near my house, like, right by my window. And it, like, was some crazy stuff. They had some weird chemicals up in there. And it gave me echolocation. But it also, I went blind and deaf, obviously, which I am right now. I'm only picking that up through my feet. Not barefoot, but...
The people at home cannot see me talking to your toe, so that's fine.
There we go. Yeah, I'm actually echolocating right now. No, in reality, I whenever I was a kid, I just always went barefoot. Just something I did. And my grandparents can attest to me always being barefoot, like always walking out on gravel and through briars, running around in the woods.
I mean, that's what we all did. I mean, that's how we lived.
Right? Around here?
Yeah. I mean, Although you could have been like, well, I like to stay grounded.
There we go. Yeah. I gotta stay grounded.
Yeah, I like to actually feel the earth under my feet.
Right.
And keep my head in the clouds and my feet firmly on the ground.
Real hippie stuff.
But no, I like the echolocation better. I like the bat feet story better. Oh man, well Jack, thanks for coming out today and talking to us and everything. And so where all is the album? I know it's on iTunes.
It's on everything.
It's on everything.
Spotify, iTunes, YouTube.
Awesome.
I guess everything. If something's not on there, you should message me.
Okay.
Somebody.
Yeah, if there's another platform out there that the album In Disarray needs to be on from Jack Ire, let us know. I will put links in the comments below here in the show notes to where you guys can go and find the album and give it a listen. And thank you guys out there in podcast land for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.